guys! Today I want to talk with you about November 9th by Colleen Hoover. This contemporary romance novel has been released back in 2015 and it's an incredibly cheesy and corny read and I loved it. So as per usual, we will start this review with a short synopsis, then proceed to a non-spoiler review and wrap this video up with the spoilers. If you haven't read this book yet, then do not worry. I will make sure to let you know when the spoilers begin. So, Fallon and Ben first meet on the 9th of November. Fallon is an 18-year-old girl who is still recovering from a horrific accident that happened 2 years ago and completely changed the course of her life. And Ben is an inspiring novelist who just knew that he wants to get to know Fallon from the moment he met her. And even though the chemistry between the two is obvious, just in a matter of hours, Fallon needs to board a plane from LA to New York, a permanent cross-country move that is supposed to help Fallon to find herself and to cope with the past trauma. Ben and Fallon has only a day, less than a day, to explore this immediate attraction they feel for one another. And when the time comes to say goodbye, Ben offers Fallon a deal. He wants to see Fallon again next year. Same place, same time. November 9th. Until then, they both are supposed to not have any way to communicate with each other. They just need to live their lives, pursue their passions, and meet other people. As long as they both commit to meeting again for the next 5 November 9ths and pick up their relationship where they left off. However, following through with this deal might be a little more complicated than it seemed at the first glance. I got my first introduction to Colleen Hoover when I read It Ends With Us, a romance novel that left an impression on me that I am sure will last a lifetime. And by now, It Ends With Us has definitely become my go-to book when anyone asks me for a recommendation for a smart and heartbreaking romance novel. So as you can imagine, my expectations for the November 9th has been pretty damn high. And I can't say that I was disappointed. While this novel in my eyes were not as heartbreaking as It Ends With Us, it was still very easy to read, it had interesting plot, wonderful and witty main characters, and despite giving us only the story of the main couple, this book didn't felt one-dimensional. If anything, this book completely ruined my plans for the day. I grabbed it as a quick read, but then I got so involved in the story that I just had to change all of my plans and just stay up and finish reading it. Colleen does an amazing job immersing you into the story. She gives us romance, drama, and just enough of mystery to keep you wondering when the big plot twist is going to come and ruin it all. I can see this book being hit or miss for a lot of people, depending on what books you usually read, on your own personal tastes and life experiences. There is a lot of drama in the story, and lots of feelings that sometimes seem a bit exaggerated. But keep in mind that both of our main characters meet each other at the age of 18, and both of them do not have a lot of what you would call a regular life experience. They navigate their lives and their relationships the way they think it's normal, and their normal might not always be the same as our normal. And if you have read this book already, and whether you loved it or hated it, I bet that you still can't say that this book made you feel something. I enjoy the books that make me feel, that make me live with the emotions the characters are experiencing, that make me still feel uneasy hours or days after I finish the book. And this book did it. It made me feel embarrassed, it made me cringe at some of the actions and conversations of our main leads. It made me feel anxious and angry and sad and happy. It was addictive. And on that note, I feel like this is a great time for us to move into the spoiler review so we could talk a little bit more about the actual plot of this book. If you haven't read November 9th yet, but you feel like this is something you would enjoy, then now it's a great time for you to click off this video. Alright, so let's begin from the start. Well, our book's start, and not Ben's book's start. Let's leave this major twist for later. So, year 1. I have to say that I just love that first November 9th when Fallon and Ben meet. The way they understood each other, communicated with each other, and instantly decided that they can trust each other just felt so organic. You could honestly feel that neither one of them wants to say goodbye. You could cut the sexual tension with a knife. And yet when I finished reading about their first encounter, I could not help but wonder if this is the right person in a wrong time situation, or is this just kind of an illusion? Then maybe both Fallon and Ben are just into the idea of living this unique adventure. Yet the chemistry and this mutual understanding would dissipate as soon as they would actually get to know each other. Year 2, in my personal opinion, has probably been the least memorable year for me in this book. I wrote this review just hours after I read this novel, and the novel overall contained so much drama, so much feeling, that the second year just kind of felt overshadowed by all of the events that followed. And that's not to say that the second 9th of November wasn't an important year. We get a confirmation that both of our main characters are still head over heels for one another. We get the scene of Ben realizing for the first time that he has fallen in love with Fallon and getting the tattoo, the significance of which we only realize later. And we even get that little tease, that minuscule hope that Ben might actually drop everything and follow Fallon to New York after he shows up at the plane. And while this has been a very sweet and romantic chapter, which actually helped me to get rid of my doubts that I had about them not being able to make it as a couple once they get out of this little bubble they have created, I also start to feel that in real life, real people who are as crazy about each other as Ben and Fallon are, would not actually condemn themselves to another year of complete silence, of life without one another. I myself got frustrated with the whole concept of the book. I got annoyed that they only get to live this love story once a year. When Ben showed up at that plane, I so desperately needed their story to pass 9th of November, but I knew I'm not gonna get it, and I felt just as hurt and just as hopeless as the characters because I knew that they have to say goodbye to each other all over again. And then we have year 3. Despite a couple of major plot twists that are about to come in the following years, I have to say that year 3 has probably left the biggest impact on me. Colleen Hoover is such a wonder when it comes to writing dramatic, heart-wrenching drama sequences that make me uncontrollably cry, and the year 3 had just been a perfect emotional roller coaster. We start the chapter by learning that Ben did not fly to New York to meet Fallon. We learn that his brother Kyle just died. We learn that Jordan is pregnant and that this little baby will never get to meet his father. But then we see Fallon dropping everything and showing up in LA at Ben's doorstep, and the reunion is devastatingly beautiful. We get to see how much Ben needs Fallon, how much he relies on her. We get to see how much Fallon trusts him. And when we reach the peak of happiness, we get them basically admitting their feelings, Fallon agreeing to pursue a relationship and Ben deciding to move to New York so he could be with her. Everything once more falls apart and crashes in such a painful manner. The last scene that closes their 3rd year, the scene where Ben is pleading Fallon not to leave, where he's begging her to love him and let him be in her life, broke my heart. While I understand why Fallon left, the scene was written so well that I also felt the pain Ben was feeling, and that was devastating. In year 4, as soon as we got to know that Fallon had made a decision and moved back to LA, I just instantly knew that Ben will be in a relationship with someone else. I just knew it, and it was so difficult to keep on reading because even though my gut screamed at me that this is going to be the case, I just really didn't want you to get that confirmation. I just kept on thinking in the back of my head that this relationship he is in just can't be that serious. He could not have fallen in love with someone else this quickly. Not when we know how he actually feels about Fallon. And while I knew that he must be in a relationship now, for the love of God, I didn't expect him to be in a relationship with Jordan. And despite it being messed up, his relationship with Jordan made sense. I could rather easily understand how that happened. I hated it, but I understood it. Now what I love the most about year 4 is that even after everything that had happened, the author made it clear that Fallon and Ben still love each other. She didn't only make it clear to us through their inner thoughts, but they also made it clear to each other. Fallon didn't pretend to be a cool girl who is unaffected by this turn of events. No, she learned that the man she loves is in a relationship with other women and she broke down. While Ben, as soon as he realized that his feelings are reciprocated, he started to try and find a way to fix the situation he was currently in. which leads us to year 5, probably the most defining year of their relationship. And while this whole sequence in the club was honestly great, this is not something I want to concentrate on right now. I would rather concentrate on the morning after. Since their second year together, I honestly haven't once doubted that Ben is in love with Fallon and that Fallon is in love with Ben. Not when she refused to be with him and allow him to move to New York for her, and not when Ben got together with Jordan either. Their feelings were obvious. That is until the moment Fallon learned that Ben has been responsible for her accident and she stormed out of his house without hearing his explanation. Not until she threw his book manuscript out of the taxi's window. Once she did that, for the first time in this novel, I started to doubt that these two will end up together. As I have mentioned before, up until now I have only read one Colleen Hoover's book. And judging by the book I have read before, I knew that Colleen is not the type of author who feels like she has to stick to your traditional happy ending. Her happy endings, while happy, are not always what you first imagine a happy ending might look like. So when Fallon learned the truth and when she stormed out, I honestly believe that this is it. This is how the story will end. We will get a chapter or two of them learning to live without each other, and maybe we will see them running into one another years after this. And maybe then Fallon will be ready to listen, but as of now, it didn't seem possible for them to fix the situation. Ben has been the very first person that Fallon opened up to, that she learned to trust after the accident. The very first day they met, she felt comfortable enough with him to let him see the scars, to touch them, to pick the dress she will wear for dinner. She put so much trust in him that he became the reason that led her to regain her confidence. And to learn now that this foundation of this whole relationship has been a lie, I wasn't sure that Fallon could move past that. And then, when by year 6 we finally get the full story, the heartbreaking story of Ben's mom's suicide, I just realized that more than anything else, this book left me confused. On one hand, I understood where Ben was coming from. I understood that the fire has been an accident, and I understood his wish to admit the truth from Fallon, and I couldn't really blame him for any of it. But on the other hand, for me, it felt like something so very important between them broke. And now for once, I think I can blame the structure of the book for it. I feel like maybe after the year 5, after this massive conflict, maybe the author should have given up on the idea of giving us only one day per year. Now I understand that Fallon needed time to cool off, but I don't really understand how either one of them could have waited a whole year without clearing the air. And even more, I could not understand how Fallon could have not wanted to go back to Ben and learn the whole truth about the night of the accident. Despite being angry and sad and hurt, not once in a whole year, she thought that maybe the man, this man that she loved so much, has the right to tell his side of a story. And maybe this is the reason why the ending of the book kind of bugged me. We as the readers who only get to live a day per year, we get the full story right away. But Fallon, she waited a whole year to learn the whole truth, and she didn't even know that she will get the manuscript. How strong can her feelings actually be if she was not willing to let him explain himself? Even after the initial shock passed. Even after 1 year, she still wasn't willing to read the manuscript. And yet, as soon as she reads it, she drops everything and runs to him, and we get this extremely sweet spoonful of sugar reunion. I just couldn't buy it. After I learned the truth, I wanted them together. I did. But this whole let's forgive and forget just didn't feel realistic to me. It felt like a happy ending for the sake of a happy ending. It felt like for once, after all this drama, these ups and downs, after falling so desperately in love with each other while only knowing each other for 5 days throughout 5 years, they should have met up, and instead of I will love you forever, they should have agreed to work together on fixing this relationship and learning to trust one another again. They should have taken this slow. But that's just my opinion. What about yours?